that. Oh God, I'm gonna die. I gotta get this on camera. No.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Marino Show. I'm your host, David Marino. Today, I'm speaking with Vinnie, Funkmaster V Vineyard. He is an actor, a filmmaker, professional wrestler, and he's the owner of Big and Funky Productions. His films include WJHC AM, The Hiker, Camp Smokey, and Vinnie's Fantastic Rock and Roll Adventure. He has other films that he's working on, and we'll get to that here in a second. But Vinnie, thank you so much for joining me today. One of the things that was really interesting about what you do is you do so many different things. And I always find that to be, really cool when people are not pigeonholed and they do a variety of different things in their lives. Obviously, I'm into horror movies, and you have made a series of films called the Smoky Mountain Chronicles. And some of the films I mentioned are included in that. But can you touch on those films specifically and the horror genre and how they kind of fit into that?
Yeah, like you said, me and my partner, he's big. He's the big part of Big and Funky. He's a 7 foot tall summertime Santa Claus. He's a pro wrestler. He's my tag team partner for years because we're pro wrestlers. And he was the big old guy that would come and beat the crap out of everybody when I was getting my ass handed to me. But Big Luke and I we were doing like a paranormal television show for a small couple of networks. And when COVID happened, he said, let's do the movie. And I was like, I don't want to do a movie because I was the one that edited everything, and editing sucks. And I told Luke, I was like, at the end of a movie, it's like 8 minutes of 3,000 names, like 2,990 of those names will be me now. I'll be doing all the crap on the computer and all the stuff behind the scenes. But he was like, when COVID kind of hit and we heard that the Hollywood wasn't making any movies anymore, he was like, come on, man, this is our shot. And I said, okay. So we started to shoot a movie called The Hike. And along the way, when we were making it, we were having a lot of fun making The Hike. And we were like, we can make a series out of this. I'm from Baltimore. He's from Chicago. And it's like, man, there's not a lot of stories about Appalachia. There's not a lot of stories about the Smoky Mountains. And the Smoky Mountains truly are a magical place. There's weird stuff that happens there. And we've done a couple of ghost investigations and looking for cryptids and things. And we got a lot of nutty stuff coming down the pike, and ran across things purporting it themselves to be something peculiar. And we could do a series of these things, of the legends and lore of the Smoky Mountains. So we kind of have like 6 different movies, or none of them are like the other. And they're all connected. Like there's strings of, stuff in them that are like in one movie, and you'll see it in another movie, or somebody will reference an event that took place in another movie as in passing or something like that. So it's kind of cute. It's like its own little multiverse.
City demons are dangerous, sure, but they're small, capricious, and fragile. They'll likely take each other out before they'll ever be a threat to us. Fickle little things that light up bright, but then burn away. The country has old demons, spirits of hate, mendacity, and vengeance that have been allowed to grow unchecked for centuries. Eons. Big motherfuckers.
And we were talking offline about WJHCAM because I started as a radio news reporter in AM radio, and living in Texas as part of the South, you were telling me that this film really speaks to the South and sort of that whole radio life. Can you touch on that film specifically? Because I really thought the subject matter was interesting and just what you accomplished with that film.
Well, that's probably our best film. That was the highest rated horror comedy of like 2022. We're very proud of it, and it's part of the movie's true life. Because when I first moved down south, I wanted to get in the radio, and the only thing that would hire me is Southern gospel radio stations and very ultra conservative like news talk stations and stuff. So this was all new to me, seeing the Pentecostal like jumping around and kick flips off the wall and stuff like that. It was wild when I was a younger man. I was in my early 20s, and now looking back on it, making this movie, the first 75% of the movie is pretty close to. It's like a My Cousin Vinny kind of movie. It's like a Yankee in the South going, "What am I watching?" and just being freaked out repeatedly. And then about the last quarter of the movie, it turns into a horror movie because we were like, Y2K in the South was all about the return of Jesus. So what if Jesus actually did come back when Y2K hit? That's, if you don't know, if you're a millennial or something, that's when it was the clocks all struck 2000 and everybody thought nuclear warheads were going to shoot off from Russia and the supply chains would end and things would explode. And they thought it was going to be the end of the world. So I was like, what if in some weird alternate timeline, Christ did come back, scooped up all the good guys, and us assholes were left behind to fight off the Denzians and the zombies and the hobgoblins and the demons of the night. So the last quarter of the movie is that. So it's all like true. And then it turns into fantasy. And I do like that movie. It's a lot about my life, and it's fun to watch it now and go, wow, it's almost like a home movie in a way.
You gonna answer the question?
Are you serious? I thought a question like that was illegal.
You were applying to be a DJ at a Southern gospel radio station.
This job is gonna kill me.
Vinnie, this is the station owner's son, Jack Lowe Jr.
So you work out?
First day, you get to sit in with me, Sister Christian. My new show, God Jam, it's just about to start.
Oh, hey, man. They said your name was Fresh Meat. Just kidding, man. They said your name was Benny.
But I gotta build up a demo reel. I'm gonna have to bring the phone. Zany Morning Zoo Madness. Hello, thank you for calling WJHC AM.
I'm very worried about Y2K.
Why are you worried about Y2K?
Because I'm afraid of what's going to happen after Christ returns.
Oh.
You were also saying another one of your films that you had a lot of fun making was Camp Smokey. Can you expand on that one and what that's about?
Camp Smokey, like I said, we try to make these movies different. This one is kind of like if you took the book I Am Legend, which is a great book, and the movies have never approached the subject matter of what made I Am Legend great. But if you ever read the book I Am Legend, it's a great book. It's kind of like Castaway. It's kind of like Halloween. It's a Last Man on Earth movie. A kid is at a summer camp, and he watches demons just come from out of nowhere and just kill everybody in the camp within seconds, minutes, and he escapes. And he believes he's the last human being on Earth. And so he spends his life just trying to exist. He's got a teddy bear he talks to, so there's kind of like a one-way conversation with this maniacal, crazy bear. And every once in a while, he has to kill a demon to stay alive. And it's a story about just kind of what it's like to be a boy growing up to be a man in the woods by yourself when everything else on the planet is a monster. And like the book I Am Legend, he starts to become the monster in the world. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty interesting.
I was just a kid when they came to Camp Smokey. To the world. Been hiding in these woods for decades. Scavenging. Surviving. Today, they found me. Damn demons.
And the cool thing is about your films, they're streaming on multiple platforms, right? I know we talked about that. What is it? Tubi is one of them. Where can people like find them if they want to watch your films?
Tubi's a great place to see. Camp Smokey's not released there yet, but if you go to Roku and type Camp Smokey, and it's with an E, because there's actually a Christian camp up here, and they were like, don't use our name. And we were like, how about if we put an E? And they were like, okay. But if you look up Camp Smokey, there's like 3 or 4 places you can watch it. But everything else is on Tubi. We get paid the most from Tubi, so we always tell people, hey, go watch it on the Tubi. We appreciate the love there. And when we say pay, it's like 4 cents as opposed to half a penny, but that's how it goes. But anyway, yeah, check them out. You know, they're all, we've got 4 released now, we got 3 we're working on. And some of those aren't part of the series, like Vinnie's Fantastic Rock and Roll Adventure is actually another company produced that. We just kind of co-produced it. I was the lead in it. I didn't write it or direct it, but it was nice to be. He saw actually WJHC and was like, I like you and I like my Big Luke was funny in it. And he was like, how about if we make a road comedy down Route 66? And that was an adventure going down Route 66 to shoot a movie. I'm still trying to catch my breath on that. That was a pretty wild trip.
And acting for you is also one of your loves and all the different things that you do when it comes to filmmaking. Is there one aspect of the filmmaking world that you gravitate to more, or do you just love all of it? I know you mentioned earlier editing isn't your favorite thing in the world, but what do you love about this industry, especially the indie filmmaking world?
It's like the Wild West. You don't know really what's going to hit. There's no studio. I've almost been famous like 11 times. I mean, I've signed contracts for television. I was in a band that toured the Southeast that got signed and shelved. TV shows, and things always fell apart. And each time it got progressively more irritating. So eventually me and Luke was like, let's just do this MFing stuff ourselves. Screw everybody else. TV is dead. There's people on YouTube and TikTok making much more than they would ever make doing television. And that's the truth, because television doesn't pay jack diddly squat anymore. So, I mean, it really doesn't. It's if people knew what the reality TV stars made, they would be like, why do they even bother? It's ridiculous how little they make. So you have to figure out your own way when you want to be in entertainment. I like acting, even though I'm not a great actor. I'm good at being me. I'm not a great, like I told you last time, I couldn't be like a French ballerina from the 1600s. I wouldn't know how to act like that. But to be a boisterous, kind of loudmouth, obnoxious guy from Baltimore who's just a slack jaw jive talker. I'm great at that because it's me. But I don't have to. I don't. There's no my thing is that narrow. But I enjoy being independent. That's my favorite thing about it because it's a mystery. It's like, dude, we've making these movies, and anybody that makes a movie, even these B movies that are very micro budget, they could be god awful terrible. But to actually complete a movie, I don't care if it's like it's a car coming down the hill with 3 wheels and it's on fire and smoke's coming out from under the hood. If you get it across the finish line, it's an amazing achievement because it's very difficult to make a movie. There's so many, and to make any money. So the challenge is probably the funnest part besides just being in front of the camera and entertaining, figuring out how to get it done. That's probably my favorite part because it is a puzzle, and you got to sell each movie too. And I was naive to think, okay, we had one that was pretty well received and the critics like this one, you just assume that it's just going to get easier and easier. And it's not true. You have to figure out how to skin the cat every time.
And all of your projects that you do fall under your company, Big and Funky Productions, which you have a business partner that you work with, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me about Big and Funky Productions and how you formed that production company.
Well, it comes from my friendship with Big Luke Walker. He's my tag team partner, and our tag team was called Big and Funky, and we wrestled in Tennessee and Georgia and North Carolina and Chicago and all points in between. And when we, around 2015, we got to be able to book a god-awful, terrible wrestling television show in Knoxville, Tennessee for Fox. And we did that for 6 months. The wrestlers hated it. The fans liked it. It was terrible in a lot of different ways. It wasn't our fault, but there were some things that we probably did wrong. And we got fired. And after we got done with that, we were like, well, we liked what we did. So we started doing skits. We did a lot of skits. And then we started getting into the paranormal stuff. And we won Best New Paranormal Team in America by Destination America. And that was our first foray in the cable television nationwide, where we were like, oh, you guys are going to have a show. 3 weeks later, Destination America's gotten sold and it's over with. And we were like, what? And so we decided as we kept taking these losses, our philosophy is fail forward. So we failed a lot. A lot of people go, wow, you guys are so successful. It's not true. It's like we've lost. If we were a football team, we would be like 2-17. We would not be making the playoffs. But we keep getting better and we keep figuring out what we're doing wrong, and the landscape keeps changing. And so over the course of being friends, musicians, he's a musician, I'm a musician, we've got musician friends, we've been in all sorts of, I used to host burlesque shows. So now we have burlesque dancers and drag queens, and we were a part of the paranormal. So we got ghost hunters. I ran for governor. We got ghost hunters. We got comedians and actors. So we got this huge stable of talent and people that can help us, filmmakers and yucks and goofballs and morons and gypsies and all points in between. We got a skeleton crew. We look like the Muppet Show when we go somewhere. You never know what you're going to see. It's the Muppet Show pouring out of a van, and we're very fortunate to have a lot of people that want to help us, and that we have those resources we can kind of tap into.
And I love that, you said you have all these different people that work with you under Big and Funky Productions, and they're from, different areas of life. They vary. Is that also one of the things that you've probably loved the most in being in this industry, is that you've been able to cultivate this, like a family of people that can work with you on these various projects, and you can kind of pick whoever you need that fits whatever role or whatever, job in behind the scenes even that you need.
It's all about, availability and what you learn. And this is something I think a lot of people need to here in America and the whole world is everybody's the same. I mean, I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're trans, I don't care if you're a Christian, if you're an atheist, if whatever. Everybody's basically the same. I mean, we all want a good meal, we want somebody to love, we want respect, we want our children to do better, we want to have some fun, we want to have a life that has meaning. We all bleed red. We want to take a nice dump at night and have sex and watch stupid videos on YouTube when we pass out. Doesn't matter who you are or how old you are or anything like that. So you learn that, and then you're like, wow, because of that, there's all these exteriors, minorities, people with dreadlocks, Hispanic people, Asian people, whatever, drag queens, furries, weirdos, whatever. But they're all the same. So you can it's almost like having puppets or something. And it's really kind of fun to play in that universe and be kind of like a kid on your floor with a bunch of action figures, and you get to make stories. And it is nice to have people that are your friends and that your acquaintances, and you call them up. Hey, I got an idea for you. Oh, I'm there. Boom, bada bing. You name time and place, Funk, we'll be there. And I'm like, all right, it's nice to have that.
Getting back to being a pro wrestler, how did you fall into that, and how has that helped you in working in film and even acting?
Oh, that's a good question. So, pro wrestling, I was about 32, and I was getting tired of playing music. I hit the ceiling. I was making good money, but it was the same joke over and over, 4 hours every night. I didn't drink. I don't drink. And at the time I was married, so I really wasn't out trying to find some trim on the side and nothing like that. I was trying to, because she's a great woman and I don't want to do that to her. So at the end of the day, it was just a paycheck. The stories kind of started repeating themselves, and it's, this kid. So I was like, man, I was bored. So I was the state champion in judo. I was pretty good I've been in some fist fights and took care of myself. And I was like, I think I can do this wrestling stuff. And I got into it, helped a little group get off the ground, and I've enjoyed a nice career with some crazy stories. Being a pro wrestler, you get crazy stories. It's unreal. But now, pro wrestlers are really, this is for advice for anybody. If you're a filmmaker, go to your local wrestling show and eyeball the people that jump off the page, like the people, because you'll have some wrestlers that are just kind of old, and you have some that are dork young kids, but there's some that are really good in the middle, and they may look good. They may have a great body. They may have a good face. They may have a lot of charisma. Pro wrestlers are incredible in independent movies. They can do stunts. They can get hurt, not bitch. They won't be like, ow, my fingernail. They'll just shake it off. They're not used to getting paid, so you don't have to pay them a fortune. They can fight, and they're used to doing lines in one take. When you're a pro wrestler, you can't go, oh, I screwed that up. Take two. The crowd will be like, what the hell are we watching? So you got to learn. They learn how to do everything in one take. They're an invaluable resource, pro wrestlers. So that is, I know a lot of people want to make movies and are like, I don't have any actors and stuff. Well, you can go down to the theater, and we've done that too. We've got some theater people, but local community people. But I mean, I think the pro wrestlers, that's the treasure trove. Girls and boys.
Being in the horror genre, I love the horror genre. And, one thing that we've talked about is that there's really a big support system within the horror genre with fans and even the actors supporting other actors. And I find that, as somebody who's always loved that genre and grew up watching it, that the community, for the most part, is very welcoming and very supportive no matter what kind of film you're making. Has that proven to be the case for you in the films that you've been putting out? And what has been the response from the community for you and the people that work with you?
Well, the short answer is yes. One of the reasons we went with the horror genre is because there is a community that supports what is made. I probably, if I was given my druthers, would make straight comedies, but there's not like a comedy group. You don't see comedy film fanatic groups on Facebook. You see 1,000 horror. And the horror people, God bless them, they're very forgiving. So, if a movie sucks, they'll still like it. If a movie's great, they'll like it. It's very rare that a lot of people who watch independent horror movies are like, well, let me tell you something. There was a plot issue here. They're just like, hey, there was boobs, there was blood, there was a guy screaming. It was great. There was a pothead character that did the same joke in every movie. They don't give a damn. They think it's fun. So it's cool to make movies that kind of have built-in fans. And I think they really root for independent filmmakers. And that's awesome. I don't know if I've ever been in that. When you're in music, when you're in comedy, when you're in pro wrestling, it's always a competition. There's competition here, but there's a lot of love too. So I appreciate them. We got a review yesterday from one of our movies. The guy gave it a 4 out of 5 and he absolutely loved it. And he gave the editing an A and a dialogue an A and this and A. And I was like, hell yeah, man. Yeah, thank you, dude. We made that movie for 17 grand. A lot of people wouldn't have thought about it like that. So what we need to do is kind of break into that. Like we need to start doing conventions and kind of seeing people face to face. And we're pretty good at being charismatic. It's just when you're my age and you're trying to do a lot of things like, you want your wife to have money if you possibly croak and, you want to have your debt paid off. It's tough because I'm doing a lot of stuff financially, but if I had my druthers, I would be probably at a Comic-Con every week hawking my merchandise and trying to make connections with people.
Is there something that you haven't done yet that you are looking to do in the future or thinking about, or just that you'd like to pursue in addition to what you're already doing?
I think there's two things. One thing is I would like to get, I would like to eventually get to a point where somebody somewhere, this may not even exist anymore, but a guy with a cigar and a Texas hat, and he's in a limousine. He's like, boy, I watched your movie. I want you to direct my movie. Here's a bag full of money and go direct this. I would like a hand down of somebody going, hey, I like what you guys do. You guys make weird, funny movies that nobody else is making movies like this. I would like, here's a budget, because the last movie we made for $3,000. The second to last we made for $6,000. I mean, it's crazy what you can do when you get better. Each movie we make, it's less and less. I would like to have a budget. I don't even know what I'd do with it. I'd probably just bury it in the ground in a Folgers coffee can. But also the other thing is somebody's approached me to write a book, and I need to start writing down my memoirs. My too many chair shots to the head. My memory isn't that great. I need to get my stories, my adventures down before I start forgetting them. And that's something else I'd like to do. See how good I could be at being an author.